Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. Joined once again after a long time, actually. It's in which we did a show together, Scott, on my channel. So we're back on YouTube. We're talking about getting you back on YouTube. Hopefully, we'll get you back in here. So this is worldwide. The views on YouTube, really get out there. So it'd be nice to have you back on YouTube. So how you doing? I know you did a cruise. How'd that go?
Yeah, honestly, the caveat to the cruise for me was that, first of all, it was truly transformational. And it's one of the reasons I went, but where the transformation came from was unexpected, completely unexpected. My guess is, I knew going to these historical sites that were thousands of years old, seeing these things would have some type of an impact just because of the vibration that comes from those points in history. And I've been looking for that. But the thing of it is that I didn't step off the boat from the time I got on the boat. I didn't step off of it at any of the ports that we were in. We were in Cyprus. We were in Rhodes, Greece, Turkey, two different places in Turkey, and also in Egypt. I think there were two stops in Egypt. But because I'm having issues with this foot and ankle that they put back on, it left me with the inability to walk distances, and I'm trying to mitigate any damage till we get some of these this high level technology was injected into it this past week to cause it to regrow tissue, like 100% success rate in this. So I wanted to make sure I didn't dust it up too bad. Besides, it's been too painful. However, having landed in Greece, spent time there, and then came back into the port, and then spent time in that area, where the Acropolis is and some other historical sites, was pretty amazing. How could it not be? But the information that we had sessions virtually every day or every night. Days we were at sea, we had sessions during the day with Sasha Stone. Sasha Stone.
What a great guy to have doing so. Woo! That's been amazing.
I'm telling you, we've all seen Sasha. Mike, I've been palling around with Sasha for a few years now.
Yeah.
The shit that this guy knows is endless, and having the time with him, we had about 50 people with us, but having this much time with him and the focus and the depths of the things he was teaching us, I'm telling you, I was blown away, truly blown away. Margot Anand, she's one of the experts in the world for Tantra, the spiritual side of Tantra. People think it's just about sex, and that's all I ever thought. It's all I ever cared about when you mentioned Tantra. But there's truly an ascension experience that when you have this deep understanding of what sex is truly about, right, among the human species, how it should be performed, how it was, and how it's been muddied by the satanic rite. It was amazing. But I'll talk more about whatever topics you want to talk about. But I can tell you, I come back a changed man from this cruise. It's and many people did.
I think you would with Sasha Stone, because you're going to those high vibrational areas like you talk about. And Sasha Stone, I love getting together with Sasha Stone, and we just like rip it, just our one-on-one conversations. He's out there. I love that. And so having him, running events and so forth, must have been quite substantial. Now you've been having some really good shows. You got this one where you talk about the bees and so forth. We'll get into that in a little bit. But first of all, let's talk about the No Kings celebrations. Right, that's going to happen around America today. So it's going to be pretty substantial. I want to show you a video real quick. And this video is basically, it says, I can just read it. Our lives depend on everyone becoming the enemy within. This is Antifa, of course. Antifa groups across the U.S. are urging their militants to join up and embed in the No Kings protest. They view it as an opportunity to build connections with anti-Trump liberals in order to radicalize and recruit them into the Antifa violent militant cause. Antifa are very concerned about the Trump administration's efforts to target their organized crime. So they're seeking to blend back into larger left-wing protest movements like they did for BLM in 2020. So what are your thoughts on that?
You know, I just saw this morning that the warnings coming out that a lot of these people, a lot of these violent rioters, the BLM Antifa types are going to be, that there's a coordinated effort for them to go to certain websites to purchase what they need to blend in, and their blending in is going to be wearing MAGA gear. They're going to be dressing at just like J6. Some of these guys, Chris Burgard has live footage when he went there with Nick Searcy. They didn't plan on creating a film from it, but they just videotaped a lot of stuff with a phone, and they saw these BLM Antifa guys in the bushes taking off their MAGA hats and their MAGA shirts and all that, and then changing into their normal gear, what I'd call their riot, their rioting gear. And so they're going to do the same thing. It sounds just like that particular riot or that faux insurrection. They're going to do the same thing. My concern is initially, I don't think our side, the side of calmness and measure and discernment, they're not going to buy it, because we'll see that we'll be able to see through the behavior. Who buys it are the people that are somewhat innocent in their viewpoint of what happens. They think it's everybody's relatively good, and they could easily buy into that, because it's always about the public narrative. That's what it is, controlling or driving a narrative. But that confusion, in my opinion, what can then obviously cause uncertainty to what's really happening in terms of the enforcement of the law during those times. So I think it's going to get a little muddy.
Yeah, I agree. So there's, I think there should be, peaceful protests are great. That's what America's about. Mm-hmm. And law enforcement is there to keep people safe, regardless of what they're protesting about. But when it becomes violent, like we pretty much know these guys are moving this to violence, I think there should be a really hard pushback on that. And this is, of course, Florida Sheriff Judd Grady Judd or something like that. So he talks about how the protesters, they're given free rights, and if they get out of line, then they're going to come down pretty hard on them. Let's listen to this.
Is elegant in how I say things. So I'm gonna first say that peaceful protests are part of our democracy. We invite people to share their opinions. That's what our country is all about. The key word in that is peaceful. And if it's peaceful, us in law enforcement are going to make sure you have a safe environment to do it in. That's part of that process. If you let it turn violent, you do not want to do that in Brevard County. I'm going to tell you that, and I believe I can speak for my fellow sheriffs around the rest of the state. You don't want to let it happen. And just so there's no confusion, because I don't want to hear any whining later saying we didn't know, I'm going to break it down for you, all right? Because as you watch these riots unfold across the rest of the country, what you are seeing is buildings being burned down, police cars being bricked, having explosive devices thrown on them, having fire, guns pointed at them, bricks thrown at them, all and on. So I'm gonna break it down for you, all right? And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired, because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop. You're watching what's taking place out there. You're seeing police officers that are being attacked, being spit on, being put in harm's way just for doing their jobs. You're seeing ICE agents that are being targeted for doing their jobs. And you're seeing obstructionists that are doing all of this, standing in the way of law and order. Not here.
Yo, first of all, I just got to say that this is the realest stuff that I'd have never heard in my entire life. I love it. I think that this is what's needed in society. And the fact that all of these liberal fairies think that they can get away with doing some of the most egregious things to the people that protect us, to people that you call when you have a problem, the people that go and solve your murders, the people that keep us safe inside of the United States of America.
Things I'm not as usually as elegant.
So that's you know, what are your thoughts on Grady Judd?
You already know. I fell in love with this guy the first time I ever heard him talk like that. I'm like,
No doubt.
oh my God. Now we got real law enforcement. It's like Marshall Dillon rolling into town.
But isn't it sad that he's an exception? You look around Portland, LA, and you know, you name the blue city, and even unfortunately there in Austin, you have some real problems. They're probably going to, you know, protest pretty good there in Austin because all the liberals from California came to Austin, unfortunately. So, what do you think? Is that something that should be? This is the rule across America, just like what he said.
I think that's exactly what the country needs. Look, you know, we're always talking about from our side, from the spiritual side, you know, meeting low energy with low energy or dark energy with dark energy and type of battle. All that does is feed the satanic realm. It's that trauma, that violence, that vibration they feed off of. So from you look at it from that standpoint, I understand like the world doctrine has been to you know, have an understanding of these people, not kill everything that either disagrees with the, you know, the general population, whatever their mindset is on that. And I like to think I'm a fairly spiritually ascended guy, but I'm telling you, I see no other way to meet this than with brutal return violence, because you know, I hate to say that. Simple fact is, the more that our side allows this to go on, the more property is destroyed and the more innocent lives are lost. I mean, we saw the videotapes of all over the country back in 2019 when they launched this operation, BLM Antifa, and the people, old folks, being beaten with sticks, you know, or clubs out in front of their shops in the street by these thugs, people killed. And I mean, all that's what, you know, between that and the child trafficking is what caused me to start being a radio host and coming in with this provocative language. It's time to put these people down. And unfortunately, now that they're warned, they've been given a choice here on how to conduct themselves. We know what they're going to do. They want chaos. The people that are funding them want chaos. These people are knuckleheads. They just truly are knuckleheads, because they can't even see that they are being used as cannon fodder for the other side. Because if it comes down to it, in our side, the good people have to take care of business. We learned that in the Q drops. They said that when this begins, and they know it's coming because of the arrests that are coming. They said when this begins, that they are going to put it down very hard and very fast, and they're going to make it so definitive that nobody will ever try these things again. And so, you know, they've been warned on a number of levels. This is not going to be tolerated in this country any longer. And so, you know, I say if one person throws a bottle, a cop or somebody else, or instantly shows any threat of violence or harm to anybody, property or human, they need to come in with boots and put them down and take them away immediately.
Yeah, definitely. So some people in the chat are saying that wasn't Grady Judd. He's a Polk County sheriff. So that means there's other sheriffs out there in Florida that are, you know, have the right attitude too. So whoever that was, you know, kudos to them, and kudos to all the sheriffs around the country that have that same frame of mind. I know a lot of them are restricted, like we've seen in a lot of these big blue city and states that are blue. I think that we're going to see more violence coming, and that's a given, because we've had like 1,000 plus, known terrorists that have come into the United States during the Biden wide open border campaign to bring in millions of people to cause problems, to replace us, really, in many circumstances. So what do you see as far as like, the big cities? Do you think we're going to have big violence in big cities at some point?
You and I've been hearing about this for a couple years, and our buddy 107's given us some information that he usually gets from the chatter out there. I actually thought these things would start a couple years ago. Been surprised that they haven't. But again, timing's everything. The latest that I got, he might have shared that also on your channel, that first of all, I believe they have to. They have no choice. They're going for broke they got to get this country into a civil war, because if they don't do that and they don't divide us and weaken us, they're going away. They're going down. The moves have already, the players on the chessboard have already been started to be removed. These indictments are happening. And again, there's going to be bigger players that are going to be arrested, and they're going to do everything possible to survive. It's their last chance to survive this. They're not going to, but so the chaos that's going to ensue from what we've been told has been, they're going to, including all of the other enemy combatants they've allowed in here by the millions, really. There's 1,000 battle hardened Al-Qaeda fighters who they now know are inside the U.S. Mm-hmm. And from what I understand, those are the guys that are going to orchestrate the attacks on hospitals in about, anywhere from 100 to 200 cities and towns, start the attacks and render them, incapacitated in delivering any services or help. That'll start. Apparently it's going to be simultaneous if they do that. And then they're going to start next on first responders, whether it's law enforcement, also fire stations. I've heard they're going to be just like these MAGA impersonators. They have access to uniforms for PD, and they're going to be wearing them. They're going to be, rolling around in police uniforms, and they're going to be Al-Qaeda fighters or other enemy combatants. And it's going to be very confusing for people to know who's who, what's what, if it breaks out like that. So I've been told, I was kind of concerned heading overseas toward the Middle East on that cruise, and I actually got three different briefings or opinions from what I would call intel sources. One said I was effing nuts, not to mention the fact broadcasting to the whole world where exactly I'm going to be. That guy wasn't very happy, and he comes from your world. He's about 70 years old now, and he's still doing some off the books work, contracting that Trump brought back in 2016 to do these things. Still at it, pissed off half the time because he thinks Trump should be cutting more heads off. But he was the one that basically hammered me. And then I had two others, an SAS guy out of Australia, and of course 107 said, you're fine. You're not going to see anything really kick off. Yeah. They're not going to do things in areas of the world that are going to interfere with their plans or create any reaction or response to what they're doing elsewhere. They're holding their gunpowder for this operation.
Yeah, and when that happens, it'll be a surprise to everyone, I think, for the most part. It normally is 9/11, all these, the COVID nonsense, all these different things are, surprise attacks by the deep state. So at some point, we'll be somewhat surprised, but we're preparing ourselves as much as possible to completely defeat them. Now, Richard Mack, Constitutional Sheriff Richard Mack, we've had him on. I think you've probably had him on several times as well. He's talked about how they're going to target not only, little cities and so forth, but also infrastructure, taking out the grid, taking out water plants, attacking hospitals, and so forth. So he's been like us. He's been sounding the alarm for this for a long time. And I don't know what we can do to preemptively stop this. I think the ICE agents are part of that process to preemptively go in and stop some of this. But they're getting resistance in these big blue states, which want this to come. They're part of the process. I think some of these governors and mayors are treasonous because and I think that'll be very obvious coming forward when we start to see these attacks? What are your thoughts on some of these? Because President Trump has said, like in Chicago, the mayor and the governor should be arrested for letting ICE officers get attacked. What are your thoughts on those guys?
Well, I hope they do. Look, I think you and I both know they've got these guys on treason already. I think they have.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're baiting them in to these public responses and actions to show the people, now do you believe us? Now do you see who these scumbags are? That's kind of what I see happening here. I think they already have them on treason. They're just now using them as unknowing puppets or pawns to get the response from the public they need to gain the support. What's funny about, first of all, this comes back to your experience in the world. I'm sure you've been in combat situations or situations where, they're extended and you're running out of supplies, food, water, whatever, being deprived of those things in training. You know how that gets, doing your vision quests and all that. Those conditions suck pretty bad. What these knuckleheads on the other side, they don't stop and think this shit through, because they would love to have the water municipalities, destroyed, like say in Chicago or other places. They never stop and think, oh, what about us suffering along with that too? I mean, what's going to be, it's like after a couple of days without water. I mean, I know what it's like. Mike, you and I both stood on a competitive bodybuilding stages. And when you're coming into those final days, you're already food deprived to the max. You're completely exhausted. Your brain's as foggy as anything on earth. And now you're starting to water deplete for a couple of days. I remember going through a 3-day water depletion, and I'm eating oatmeal, like with no water, just trying to chew dry powder and swallow that shit down. And all you think about is, I'm telling you what, I'm never passing another water fountain, a bottle of water, anything in my life after this shit's over. It is painful to go through that. When these knuckleheads end up in a situation like that, then they're going to realize how they were massively used to do the bidding of the people that are really going to bring the pain and suffering directly to their doorstep. It baffles me that they can't think this stuff through before they say, yeah, sign me up. I want to help. I want to help with that.
Yeah. So, but they consider this a war on their side. So they'll go through, that stuff. They did it during the Civil War, because we're pretty much going through the potential of a civil war. I don't believe it's going to get to that point. But the Democrats in the South basically pushed the Civil War, and I think they're doing it again. I'm not a fan of the Democrats. I think the Democrat Party as a whole goes away in the future, because it's going to be pretty much realized that it is anti-U.S., anti-people, and so forth. What do you think about the Democrat Party? Extreme liberalism. It's got to go.
Yeah, and I think it will too. Like you said, again, our military intelligence back channel told us distinctly and directly the D party will cease to exist. Mm-hmm. And it's not; these aren't ideological differences or philosophical political differences that are going to drive it out, because that would be unfair. Hey, I don't believe what you say. We're going to destroy your party and you're gone. This is more a function of the capture of the Democratic Party, and this came out. The National Socialist Party of the United States back in the 30s had come to the conclusion, and these documents, they're either recorded or documented, but they publicly stated in their meetings that they're never going to be able to win an election in the United States. So they're going to have to adopt their way into one of the main political parties, which of course, Republican, Democrat, adopt their way in, and then work their influence from the inside. Now we're talking nearly 100 years ago. Well, they've been very successful at that. There is no Democratic Party anymore. The John Kennedy Democrats, who were, very honorable, upstanding people, even Democrats going into the 80s, same thing. That was where my jump off point was to be, dialed into politics. And you could clearly see there was still a distinguished code of honor among thieves, which I think they all are, but it changed dramatically. And I saw this in the 1990s when Clinton picked his head up as a candidate. And I started to really look into this guy. And we found out later he was actually his CIA handler was George H.W. Bush, a whole setup, wow, which is crazy. Yeah. And so, because these guys met in Mena, Arkansas, out near the airfield, where the CIA was dropping $40 million a month cash drops from the air into that airport, be scooped up by his people, and they were using that money from the CIA, the drug running in Central America, to build up the Arkansas economy under Bill Clinton, because they wanted to see this rise of the poorest economy in the country go way up. Like, that guy's presidential material. That's what they were setting that up for. But there were meetings, recorded meetings in a bunker with Ollie North, George H.W. Bush, then the vice president, and Bill Clinton, and Terry Reid, another CIA asset. But so the party itself went down the toilet, down the drain in 1990, because that's when George Stephanopoulos, James Carville, and the like signed on to Clinton's campaign. And it was ruthlessly brutal, to where they will not only overtake you, a candidate running for a seat. Their means of doing it wasn't going up against you politically, philosophically, ideologically. It was to destroy you, destroy everything about you, destroy your character, destroy your family, destroy your ability to make money. And they took it into the sewer. And I said back in 1992, when this happened, during election year, I said, if this guy wins, this nation will never recover from it.
Wow.
Because of how they took it into the sewer. And of course, it only got worse. Now it's an outright crime syndicate from the 20-year mark forward. Now we're 35 years forward. So as far as the Democratic Party is concerned, from my viewpoint, they're not a party. They're a crime syndicate, period. End of story. And so that doesn't mean that the Democrat voters are bad people. They've been hoodwinked as badly as anybody. But I do believe that's why it goes away, because it's going to be shown to be, although politics in Washington, D.C. is an organized crime syndicate. I've been telling the world that since 2020 when I started my radio show, right out of the gate. That's true, but it's driven by the Democrat Party and facilitated by many, many criminals in the Republican Party. So the Republican Party is going to take its own house cleaning when this thing is all done. But the Democrat Party, in my opinion, completely goes away, because I think people would be embarrassed to even say that they are a Democrat once all this, the worst of the crimes that have been committed on earth, once they see it all coming back to the Democrat Party, driven by the players, and certainly helped out by the Republicans, that it won't survive. The Republican Party obviously will, because there's a lot of good people like us in it who will hold our own people's feet to the fire for the bullshit they may pull. We're not letting them off hook either. But I think that's what inevitably happens to the Democrat Party, because it's not a Democrat Party. It is, and I want to make this point on this, Mike. It's not the Democrat Party of John Kennedy. That's long gone. It's been hijacked and it's been transformed. What I will say about the philosophical differences between the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, I just want to plant this seed, because I think it's important for the audience to understand this. Our founders, and it pisses me off when I hear Trump say democracy, any of these people say democracy, it pisses me off, because we were not created as a democracy. We were founded as a republic.
Right.
People say, what's the difference? Reason we have a Democrat Party, Democrats want a democracy. The reason we have a Republican Party, Republicans want a republic, a representative republic. Here's the difference. And I make it very simple. I've used this a lot. Here's the philosophical difference. Let's say you have 5 people. They're going to break away from all this bullshit. They're going to go out into somewhere in the mountains in Montana, wherever. Basically be separatists from this society. They're going to form their own system of governance in their community. So if they choose a democracy, here's the danger of a democracy. And it's why our founders abhorred democracy. They abhorred it because it's only one step from tyranny. Okay. Help me understand how. Here's how. Let's say this group of 5 people that are going to live separately, have their own system, and they choose democracy, where majority rules. We're taught to say, hey, yes, the majority rules. We're taught to say that all through school and in society. Now, here's the problem. Let's say the system has to work for everybody, everybody. Now, that system doesn't work for everybody. Why? Let's say there are 5 people, 3 are men, 2 are women. And let's just say they happen to be unattached. Okay. So after about 6 months, some knucklehead's going to raise his hand and say, hey, you know what? We have biological needs. Men need to have sex. It's part of our, procreation power, whatever. And, these two ladies aren't really interested in us. So why don't we put forward a motion in our next monthly meeting that we're going to pass a law that women have to be available to sexually satisfy men in the community? Well, that comes up to a vote. What are the chances? What's the possibility? And in that situation, over the course of time, what's the probability that's going to come to a vote? And it's going to end up being 3-2. 3 men say yes, 2 women say no. And it doesn't matter because the majority rules. All right. So now what you have is tyranny, because the mob is ruling against the will and the wishes of another constituency, the women. Therefore, you have tyranny. That's why our founders abhorred democracy. That's why we have in a democracy. Now, a republic, a representative republic, works like this. You have constituencies, and those constituencies put forth one representative to speak for them in the political sphere. So in this case, let's say that motion's brought up at their monthly meeting. Okay. Well, in this meeting, there are 2 constituencies, men and women. The 3 men are going to put forth one of those men to be the representative voice of their constituency. And the women, the 2 women, they're going to put forth one or the other as their representative of constituency. So therefore, and I see that question come up. So I'll address your folks, Mr. Olfang, here in a minute. But what I'm going to say is this, is that now you have, it's highly likely one man's going to vote yes to be able to rape a woman and be legal, and the one woman representative is going to vote no, unless she's a complete dish rag. I mean, I can't imagine that happening. However, there's your representative republic. Now the question comes up, Mr. Olfang's folks, if you're gay, that's an absurd question. That's a totally absurd question, because there's going to be continuity likely of opinion in a group of 5. So you guys will be safe. Don't worry about that.
That's true. So you got representatives from each group. So you have the straight guys, the gay guys, and then the straight woman and the gay woman. So everyone gets represented in a republic. That was an excellent explanation. I know you've been around a lot of political types throughout your career, so you have some good insights. Now we're probably going to see what we're looking at right now. Peaceful protest began to get a little bit more aggressive. I think that's their plan. That's why we're seeing this right now. They're going to see how far they can push some of these. We're probably going to see some aggression in some of these protests, and that's coordinated to see how far they can push and get away with stuff. They've already been doing it, and there have been some shots fired here and there, but they're not ready to really go trigger happy yet. What you think, there's going to be a black swan event or anything like that coming up?
I think that is highly likely. I think what we'll find is an all-out violent protest. I think that's great insight. I like the idea of your thinking there, because it would be a fallacy on their part to think that they can just come in and start getting very violent. I think what they're going to do is you're going to have probing activities happening to see what response times are, to see what they would be up against if they unleash the full Monty. I think you're going to we'll find absolute evidence. These people are going to be walking around with earpieces. They'll have their hoodies on, have earpieces, and they're going to be communicating with Central Command on this, because these guys are very organized. They're not just going to send these kids or these people out there, these knuckleheads, and just say, hey, fire at will, or incite at will. They're going to coordinate this like any other coordinated attack. There's going to be a strategy. There's going to be a command structure to it, and they're going to see aspects of their operation activated at certain times for certain reasons. But I believe, and you've probably seen this, Mike, in all the combat zones dealing with the enemy, there are probing activities that always happen to see what the response looks like. Mm-hmm. And I think also on our side, on the good side, I think there's also going to be measured response activities, so not to tip their hand, right? And let them think that, again, Sun Tzu, if you're strong, make them think you're weak. If you're weak, make them think you're strong. So I think we'll probably see that kind of strategy on the other side as well.
Yeah, and I also think that a lot of the people on the Trump side, I guess we could say, trying to protect people's rights, regardless of who they are, Democrat, Republican, Republic or democracy, whatever it is. We have great law enforcement protectors, and I think that they're told to measure your response because they want, in this probing that we're talking about, to get an overreaction. So that's why, like for me, in a combat situation, I would be like, you go a little bit violent, we're going to go a lot more violent on top of you. But they have been really, really measured on that. And I think that's one of the reasons why, because I think they're trying to provoke a response so that then the other side, they get the legal right in their minds that they can go violent against, good people. And that's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. Now, broader, let's go bigger. So President Trump basically stopping the Gaza war, whether it's it's going to kick back on or not, is irrelevant, because that's probably one of the first times that a president has come in and stopped Israel from fighting. So amazing. So that could progress positively. We have to look at it like that, but we haven't seen any positive protest, or not protests, but demonstrations or like get-togethers. All it was just protesting violence against Israel because they're invading Palestine and so forth. Why haven't we gotten any positive response from that? We only got negative response. Is that part of the liberal agenda as well?
Do you mean the positive response from the media, from the other side, from Trump's detractors?
And those people that protested for the war to stop against the Palestinians? Well, it stopped. So why aren't you celebrating?
Interesting. Yeah. I never actually thought about it. I've been a little bit out of the news cycle until I got back in town, Monday night. But that's an interesting point. Why aren't they dancing and celebrating? Because maybe they were just out there trying to create this infraction environment for the other side. I have some questions for you on that. Here, I wanted to ask you this today. It's going to be a 2 or 3 part question. I'm going to ask you in a series of questions here. Are you noticing in social media this rapidly growing wave of opposition toward Israel, toward the regime, the Khazarian regime, and towards the Jewish people themselves, because of the long hidden history of the provocations of the Khazarians, which we know are not Jewish? They don't have the Hebrew DNA they claim to be. From the Bolshevik Revolution forward, are you seeing this building wave of average everyday people putting out Instagram post after Instagram because they're learning what's behind the creation of Israel? All these things that none of us would ever say as Christians in the past. We'd never go up. We're programmed. The Christian evangelical community is programmed to say, no, they're God's children. We need to sacrifice blood and treasure here in the U.S. for this nation, which is now proven to be ungodly brutal in the Palestinian conflict. I mean, I look at the absolute ruins. It's worse than Hiroshima or Nagasaki on people that don't even have weapons. They can't even fight back. And I see this annihilation. Like Charlie Kirk was virtually publicly ready to go in complete opposition to Israel for these reasons. And this is not about the Jewish people in Israel. Now, I've seen a lot of evidence, video evidence of the Jewish Orthodox Jews in Israel spitting at Christians, claiming that Christ, it's in the Talmud, is boiling in feces in hell, and that they're supposed to kill us as idol worshipers. This stuff is coming out everywhere, and they can't stop it. This has been suppressed knowledge to the whole world. And I always wondered why Europe always votes against Israel in the UN. Always like, what's wrong with these people? Why do they hate them? I'm seeing things that are so disturbing to me now about Israel, and many other people are. And there's a massive wave and sentiment building against the nation itself, the stolen land, occupied land of Palestine. And normally I wouldn't say this, but after what they've done to this community of people, and to the slaughter of 40,000 children or babies, and watching these IDF soldiers brag about how many babies they killed. What are we supposed to do with this, Mike? Sit back and say, oh, that's okay? That's not fucking okay on any day of the week. I don't care if it's Muslim countries where, you know, the clowns in America were targeting weddings and things like that. This is not about the annihilation of a society or a race of people when it comes to war. War is to take out the people that create the war. Anyways, I could go on for 5 more minutes, but that's my first question. What are you seeing out there, and what do you think about this?
Yeah, great question. I think a lot of people are becoming educated, like we've been trying to help them get educated on what's really going on in Israel. So that's the Khazarian mafia that's running Israel. It's not Jewish. Jewish people there's more Jewish people all over the world than are in Israel. Israel was a chosen place for the Zionists, and the Zionists, were not very good for the Jews themselves. And that's one of the things that people are waking up to. And I think it's fantastic. There's a lot of good discussions about that. Like you talked about Charlie Kirk. He just supported, it seemed like he was like, no matter what Israel did, he was always going to support them. And then towards the end, where, he disappears from the stage, we've talked about this, but he was starting to turn. And he did a show with Megyn Kelly, and of course, we've got other people out there in the high views that have talked about this, that there is a negative group that's there, and we've heard that Israel will be saved for last. Will everybody awaken to the fact that Israel government, not the Jewish people? So we have to pull away from this Jewish people thing, right? It's not Jewish people per se. It is a government that's out of control. You look at Maduro, down in Venezuela. You think the Venezuelan people are like all evil because he does his craziness? No, of course not. Biden, you think all American people are crazy because of what Biden did? Tried to start World War III? No. So I think a lot of people are aware of that, but they are becoming more and more aware because it seems like there's like this massive MK Ultra thing that's been going on for a long time, that Israel can do no harm and they're the chosen people and all these things. It's like, that's all false. That's a false narrative. And that's been going on for probably 100 years, because they've been talking about how many people are suffering in Israel and how they need their own state. And they've been doing it for like 100 years. And then they created their own land. And that was part of the, the Rothschilds and all the other baddies that are out there that put all these things together to control the world. So we're waking up to that. And I think we're going to pull away from, supporting that, because how many people are there? Like how many millions? I've been in that area. I've been in Lebanon. Lebanon is a small little coastal country, and right next to it is Israel. And I remember driving along. I couldn't go over the border into Israel at the time, but you could look down and see Israel is about the same as Lebanon. It's like small. There's nothing to it. It's like, how can that little country have so much power? It's because the U.S. military has given it power. Other than that, there's no way that country could do what they're doing. And that was part of, I think, the bigger plan by the Nazis and, deep state people that are, trying to take over the world.
Yeah, it's these are discussions that now have to be had at the risk of us being beaten up by people that don't yet understand, because they don't spend the time that we do trying to figure this stuff out, because of the travesty that's going on, not just there, but other parts of the world. The Orthodox Jews in Israel, the ones that I'm seeing that are spitting in Christians' faces, that are abusing Palestinians, they're coming in as settlers and abusing them, little kids doing it. They're taught to do that. And the depravity of teaching kids a nation from the ground up this kind of hate and this kind of inhumane treatment is no different than what we used to see when Yasser Arafat was still alive. We saw the Palestinians, and who knows how much of that's fabricated, but Palestinian kids in schools wearing their bandanas and putting AKs in their hands at 5 years old, teaching them to hate Israelis, Jewish or otherwise. they're taught that kind of hate. And that's absolutely absurd. I mean, it's truly absurd. I mean, look, we grew up when I was a kid, and we didn't talk much about my Native American heritage. My grandfather did, obviously, but we didn't talk about that openly. It just wasn't an issue. But here I am playing cowboys and Indians, wanting to be a cowboy because the Indians were brutal savages and we should just kill them, right? That's the kind of mindset they put in our heads from our school system, which is driven by government. And of course, as I grow up and grow older and learn the real truth of what was done to the native tribes in this country, obviously now I'm more vocal about it. I don't care where the wrongs are wrong. They need to be made right. And all this needs to be made right in front of the world for what they have done, what they're doing and what they've done. When you start looking behind all the wars in the Middle East, you're right. They don't have any money. They don't have any massive industry. And Netanyahu's recent, we know it's on record. Netanyahu said America is a golden calf that needs to be slaughtered over and over and over, and they'll do that to us. I mean, these are public statements that have been captured that this guy said about us. I've watched Ehud Barak, who I remember that 1990, somewhere in the 90s election, he unseated Netanyahu as a prime minister. Ehud Barak is from that, and I was a fan of Netanyahu then. I wasn't a fan of Ehud Barak. But Barak has even recently come out against Netanyahu. As long as Netanyahu's in power, there will never be peace. There are good people, Israelis in even leadership and government that know the same thing. Netanyahu, he doesn't have a Jewish accent or Israeli or whatever you want to call it. The guy was born here. The guy was educated at Yale or one of these Ivy League schools. He's a Khazarian mobster from the ground up. And the world's starting to see this and starting to find it out. And I know there's good people in Israel seem to say the same thing. And there's good Jewish people. I know a lot of Jewish people. Many of my friends in LA are Jewish. Many are Democrats. These are good people. Now I see some of them on Facebook cheerleading the annihilation of Gazans. But again, that's absurd to me. That's one-sided, and they haven't yet learned the whole truth. They're being programmed to think that way.
Yeah.
Sad.
It is sad. Now, there was a comment, and we can discuss it. We were being formed and played in a massive Zionist Hegelian dialect, with President Trump being chief Zionist cuck. So, I mean, a lot of people, have that mindset. I don't agree that, that was a great question or a great statement for somebody that, has obviously looked at a lot of these things but believes that President Trump is just a puppet for the Zionists. I don't see that at all. I see that we're independent. We're breaking free. We're destroying that entire system. I think it's Nazi based. The Nazis didn't lose World War II. They just basically New World Ordered everything, and that was part of the Bush, presidencies, where it's a Nazi family. The Bush family is absolutely Nazi family, and I don't think they should ever see any place in any political system ever again. And I know you're there in Texas, and what have we seen with the Bushes? That's another question, but what do you see with President Trump? Do you think that he's a puppet for the Zionists?
That's a great question. I'm glad this person asked it. It needs to be asked, and it needs to be ferreted out. I've been with Trump since the day he made the announcement. I backed him 1,000% the whole way through. And where I've had these moments that make you go, I've always deferred back to, could I be wrong about Trump? Hell yes. I mean, and the point I'll make is, I don't care who's in power. I care how much they look like they're working for us. We still, because when we do not, that's how all this happened. Case in point, I remember the wave building for Ron DeSantis going to run against Trump. And Mike, you like DeSantis. A lot of people like DeSantis. Yeah. And I was explaining to people, let me show you what I'm talking about. This is what I've seen for 30 years. DeSantis comes forward. We're going to end this bullshit mandates, all this. Yet in 2021, I believe it was, or 20, I can't remember what year, early in the year, he signs a bill into law, and a rider in that bill gives him the power to force quarantine and force vaccinate people in the state of an emergency. And I'm like, folks, what more do you need to know? This son of a bitch is a Khazarian card carrier. They give you all these victories over here that are really they're just incidental victories and shutting shit down. And they're burying the daisy cutter right over here in this legislation that's going to destroy everything, freedom included. So in fact, you came around, Mike, you saw the same thing. You realized, yeah, they're good at it. I can pick this shit out so quick because it's all I've ever seen. I finally came to the conclusion I don't trust any of them because my own party, especially after working 2 George W. Bush campaigns and always supporting Republicans, saw what they've done to the country and the world. So as far as Donald Trump's concerned, I have great discomfort on a couple of things. How we stood by, provided the weapons to destroy Gaza. And I don't know how many people have been killed if the numbers are true, if they're not inflated to create a desired effect on our side to get us to react and respond to what they were going to do anyways, like the whole Charlie Kirk thing. Did they, under the cover of darkness, move a lot of Palestinians out of there safely, allow this place to be demolished into nothing but rubble? So on the other side of this, a deal that's already been set up with Qatar and UAE or other nations to come in with massive amounts of money and wealth and rebuild a paradise of Gaza and bring the Palestinians into that paradise to be able to live a much better life than what they've endured. Has any of that happened? I don't know. But I would err on the side of that having actually been done, because this is a military operation, right? It is going to be fought in ways of psych warfare, psychological projection to get to the end result, which is critical. Is that what's happened here? I sure as hell hope so, because I have a problem with Trump talking about Bibi, any weapon Bibi wants, he asked for, I give it to him. Recently he said if that was a real Trump and not AI. And there are weapons I don't even know the names of or exist, yet Bibi knows and he gets them and everybody's clapping. I'm thinking, that's some pretty bad, horrible shit you're saying right there, because I don't agree with it. But there again, what have we been trained to do from the military intelligence side for the last 8 or 9 years? We've been trained to understand that this is a movie, this is a show, there is a plan, and I'm hoping that what we see on the other side, that's how much deference I give Trump. That's how much latitude I give Trump, because he's wrecking their shit everywhere else in the world. All right. And he's smarter than they are. He's baited him into trap after trap. And we see the traps being set. Mike, you and I, and a lot of people here watching, we're like, oh my God, that's another trap. No way they're going to walk into this one. And they dumbasses walk into yet another trap. Right. And they keep doing it. So I just have to say that I understand if you think Trump is as cuck as you say, and he's controlled by them. My belief and my hope is he's simply playing their game, dancing their dance, making them believe that he's 1000% with them. And I think the saving grace is you have all of us on the other side here that have watched and came to understand this operation, and we've learned to read their comms to know that we will not overreact. We will be more discerning and contemplate other possibilities of why they're doing things that would make us normally say, we're against you now. I think that they're counting on us to expose these viewpoints that we have of why we're patient in the face of things that make us very uncomfortable with what it appears Trump's doing on the surface. That's my belief yet to this day. And there's some things that make me very uncomfortable. But you got to look at the big picture, and I can see a lot of the big picture because I've been at this for 35 years. It was all political for 30 years, or probably 25 until Trump was elected. And then, because we can clearly see the whole world turn against Trump. And when I saw the whole world, both parties, UN, Vatican, royal families, big tech CEOs, most powerful people, all of them in the world turning on Trump when he announced as president, I'm like, holy shit. There is the threat. the threat to their entire global dominance. It became clear once I saw that, I knew for a fact this is the only guy that can do what needs to be done on planet Earth, because every one of these bastards are scared shitless and they're throwing all in. You know, the people, the Mark Cubans, the guy, you know, who was, again, these big tech people that are trying to destroy Trump at the outset. If that tells you anything, it'll tell you everything about Trump.
No doubt. And yeah, definitely. Katie says, don't play poker with Trump. I think that's good advice.
I wouldn't play go fish with a guy.
I know, right? God, the guy is so clever. So, you know, we can see that, but there's other people that, you know, like with the COVID vaccination, a lot of us were like, what is he doing? But that was all part of, you know, pulling in the bad people and exposing them. And unfortunately, you know, you have free will, you have the decision-making process that you can make on your own. And if you like the shot, go get it. You know, I made it available to you, but initially I think what they were loading it up with, and I think we all talked about this before, was hydroxychloroquine, because a vaccine is supposed to help overcome a, you know, disease, problem, whatever. And that's pretty much what the Trump, through the military, before he left office, was trying to get out as many of those hydroxychloroquine shots as he could. And I think a lot of people, fortunately, got those in the beginning stage. And then, unfortunately, as I was learning from back channels, they were going to come out with a very, very deadly vaccine, which unfortunately massive amounts of the population have, you know, been subjected to. So that was Trump basically playing the game as fast as he could, trying to expose as much as he could, and that helped out a lot. So now moving forward, we're going to have Trump shut down, I think, Venezuela, and I think that's going to be huge because Venezuela, through their cartels, and I think Venezuela is the big, you know, poobah down in all of South America, Central America, and everything, which is pushing the drugs. So President Trump is really coming after Venezuela. Maduro is going to be gone. They already put a $50 million bounty on him. They're flying B-52s around Venezuela. They have a 1/3 of the U.S. fleet that's around Venezuela. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty much going to go. Now it's an intimidation factor, like we understand, you know, from, you know, the military, because you're well versed in the military, exceptional. You're on my level as far as understanding what the military does. Very good. I know you wanted to be a jet jockey and that didn't work out for you, unfortunately, but you have great insight. And what are your thoughts going forward as far as Venezuela? And then on the second part of that, Mexico.
You know, I think, thanks for that. I appreciate coming from someone like you, Mike. That means a lot. I would, look, there's no debating that Venezuela has become a narco state. And as a narco state, their weapon of choice, they can't take us on militarily, but they can bring massive destruction into our country and our cities. And with the massive deaths of the population, I think so far this year, it's well over 110,000 deaths from fentanyl, hundreds of thousands the year before. And again, they certainly seem to be a proxy of China, the CCP, with this conduct. But so people are going to get a little irate about Trump, quote unquote, getting us out of wars. Now he's going to start one. He's not starting a war. He's finishing one. He's going to finish one. Guys like Maduro, they need to answer for their crimes against humanity, not just what they've done here in the U.S., but what they've done to their own people. I remember the very day in the year 2000, late in the summertime, and I don't know why I remember this, but I do. I was on a cardio machine, and one of my clients, Jennifer, was right beside me on a cardio machine, and I'm reading the newspaper, as I always did when I'm doing cardio. It's probably Wall Street Journal or something, and that the very day they announced that in Venezuela, a very wealthy country, the oil reserves on par with the biggest in the world. Beautiful girls. I mean, talk about, you know, an empire of natural resources. This country unhitched the value of its peso to the US dollar. And I said that day, as I was talking to her, I said, that was a hugely, massively bad move for Venezuela. you're going to see them descend into a third world country within about 15 years. And what happened? I said this in 2000. By 2012, 2013, their economy's destroyed. People are eating out of garbage cans. They're killing zoo animals to eat them to survive. Squalor on the streets. People, well-to-do people digging through dumpsters looking for food to survive. That's what happened there. That was an orchestrated takedown from the Chavez regime. Of course, Maduro, one of his puppets. And so those are crimes against humanity. That was a planned demolition by a Khazarian-run mobster, okay, who controls the whole Juan told me there's 172 countries on this planet today whose heads of state are not elected by the people.
Wow.
This theft of elections is global and has been going on for a very long time. So people like this guy, he needs to face a tribunal when they get him and execute him for the evidence of crimes against humanity, certainly against the United States. He needs to be deposed and, in my opinion, decapitated, not just because of the amount of Americans that are dead in this country because of this shit, but what he's done to his own people. 100%. Now, where's that come into Mexico? Well, we got the leverage on Mexico. Simple fact is, with the declaration of a terrorist organization, the cartels being declared terror operations, I know they're brutal fighters, Mike, and you know that too. These guys that are working and running with these cartels are seasoned fighters. But once again, when you come up against the full force of U.S. military special operations, not even God can save you from that, because once these guys move forward on their missions, like in fact, you and I talked about this, the shit going on in any city, like the criminal mayors and the stuff that they're doing. You might, and I might have talked to this. I think it was you said that you send in a team of 6 highly trained operators, just 6.
Yeah.
They can take down the city. They know how to get to the powers that be, take them out, capture them, whatever, seize control of communications and anything else, and take it down the whole city and put it under their control in no time flat, within a half a day. What do you think it's like when they have open rules of engagement in a city or a place like Mexico? They don't have a prayer. They just don't.
Yeah, I agree. Great insight. So special forces, I was SEAL Team 6 and, work with Delta and everything. They're already down there running operations around Venezuela right now. There's evidence of that. So they will be targeted with getting Maduro. That's what we did with Noriega. And Noriega slipped through the cracks the first night. And there's evidence that we almost had him. But there are other problems that were going on. The guys that were following him in Little Birds, they were saying, hey, we got these 2 vehicles. It could be Noriega trying to run. And they're like, oh, we need you guys over here. Come out. I don't care. Get over here. So we think we have them over here. So that night we were like hitting all these different places where we thought Noriega was going to be. And unfortunately, he slipped through the cracks and eventually ended up in I think a Catholic church or something to give him protection in there. But eventually, we got him out of there. So he didn't die. Now, what we would like to do is that $50 million that's a bounty on his head, one of his generals, like say, I'm taking over, I'm going to take that. So that would be perfect. I think that's what we're doing. We're trying to soften the target up, without actually hitting it. You leave with boats, we're going to blow them up. You're going to get, direct energy weapon. We're going to just everything that we have now is going to be targeted on anything. And we're going to start to hit land. That's what Trump just said. We're going to start to come on the land when we see targets now. So they're going to just putting pressure and pressure and pressure. I've been part of these operations, for 35 years. So this is what's happening. Now, even bigger picture again, we look at President Trump said that he was going to send Tomahawks. This was baiting, again, the deep state. He was going to send Tomahawks to Ukraine. And he had Zelensky come to the White House. They had a discussion. So he's like, I'm not sending Tomahawk. And oh, by the way, how's Tomahawk doing? You have amazing Belgian Malibu. That's one of the best dogs I've ever seen. Good job. So, I mean, in your house, you have like weapons everywhere, swords and knives and everything. I was like, God, I love this place. And you got a Malamute that would like just tear somebody apart, but it's like the sweetest, most beautiful little dog. And it's like, oh, amazing. So anyway, he said he was going to send tomahawks. And then he said, no, I'm not going to now. So, perfect Trump, right? Baiting them, see how they're going to react, and then going, no. And so bigger picture, what do you think is going to happen with Ukraine?
Well, that's a question I'd actually like to ask you. You know, again, I still think, you know, we could be pissed off at a number of things. Like you said, Trump's going to send more weapons over there, all that, when his job is to shut it all down. Again, I think these are just comms. Like you said, baiting these guys in that they're going to continue to support it. You and I both know that is the epicenter on Earth. That is the Khazarian power structure. That's where it originated from originally 1,400 years ago. Once again, these people don't have ancient Hebrew DNA. I think that those who believe that they are Jewish, only Gordon Duff's proved this in his research, only 3% do have the ancient Hebrew DNA, where 80% of the Palestinians have the ancient Hebrew DNA. Why do you think they're trying to wipe them out? So I think, you know, the Khazarians have always been running that place. These guys are smart. The Khazarian mob, I mean, they are the best at what they do. The infiltration, the identity theft, everything that they do. I mean, they can make you believe that they're your best friend, that they're truly good people, have your interests in mind, and invite you to dinner, and then, you know, walk up and say nice things and then start slitting your throat. That's how they operate. I mean, I've actually believe I've had some personal dealings with you know, that you know, Khazarian people, you know, in my lifetime as of late. But again, to outfox these people, you need to be as good as they are at making them believe that you really care about them, love them, they're your friend, your protector. The only way that you take down something like this isn't externally. It would destroy the planet. You have to bring it down from the inside. And I believe every action is being taken the whole way through. And every leader in this country outside of Kennedy and Reagan and now Trump play the game. Nobody's played it better than Trump. You're going to piss off a lot of your people in the country that think you're stabbing them in the back. And I see it differently. I know you do too. It has to be this way. They have to make them believe that they are with them, because if any moment that they do figure out that you're not with them, they don't only deal with you, they pull a Samson option. It's going to cause mass casualties on the planet, infrastructure. There are places that they're doing shit, Mike, around the world that you and I don't know about and never get to see because the media won't show it. Like, okay, watch this. They pull some plug on something that can destroy the water supply of an indigenous area in the world, and 20, 30,000 people are now dying within a week or two, because to them, human life is expendable, and they'll just show, okay, here's 30, 40,000 innocents. Watch what we do just because you did this. This is the shit that they do. And so you've got to be very patient, very smart, and willing to take your own hits from your own people to play the game better than they can.
Yeah. So I think, you know, Trump is playing a delaying tactic while Putin, who he's in cahoots with, is destroying the Nazis and the NATO alliance. So I think that's what's happening now. Here's another good one. Yeah, special forces, the military arm of the CIA, drug running operations. You guys are too stupid to admit what you were a party to. So no, we're pretty you know, spot on what's going on. I mean, some people take that tack, they go negative and stay negative. Unfortunately, I can tell you, both of us are like, we're patriots. You're Patriot Streetfighter. Both of us are attacked all the time. You lost your dad. You know, I've been attacked many times. I've been sickened. I know your whole team, your whole crew's been sickened. So no, we're not party to any of that bullshit with the CIA. I work for the CIA, you know, keeping people safe. But what I did is I hunted down terrorists, and I got a lot of terrorists, right? I was part of missions getting terrorists, and we got a lot of them, right? So in the background, we could see the CIA organization that's very dark, very evil, that is working that drug activity and sometimes using, unbeknownst to us, of course, military for their operations. Yes, but it's a facade that, you know, we're doing the right thing. Now, Noriega was a drug running operation. So we came in, Reagan, you know, sent us in there. Reagan was a good president. And you look at the Resolute desk as you're looking at President Trump, and on his left side is a massive picture of Reagan. So he's doing the right things, guys, like Reagan did. Reagan, for the most part, I know everyone gets compromised, maybe even President Trump. I don't know. Maybe he's trying to break free and do the right thing. I think he is. But there's a lot of us that get, you know, sucked into this negative stuff. The whole all America is sucked into a negative vacuum, guys. We pay taxes, some of us, but I buy stuff at a store. If I'm paying taxes, that's the only taxes I'm paying these days. But you're definitely paying for this evil on many, many different levels. And the shutdown that's going on right now, you can answer if you want that question, that person's statement. And the shutdown, I think the shutdown is being used to basically destroy more of the deep state right now. What are your thoughts?
100%. I'll address the person that asked that question. Unfortunately, you asked it with me on the show, and I'm just going to tell you like it is. There's a decent way to ask a question and not make it accusatory and call people stupid. I'm going to point out your stupidity here. What are you doing in opposition to this bullshit the CIA is doing? What are you doing? You know, your tax dollars are also being used to fund all that. You watch the CIA movies where they're all, you know, where they're shown to be these heroes. What are you doing? You're as stupid as anybody else. You're caught up in it and you can't even see it. You're too busy. You can't see the thorn in your own eye. So there's a way to ask a question like that. Hey, Mike, are you aware the agency you work for is doing this, this, and this? That's a way to do it. But you come on my channel, you get the tomahawk when you misbehave and they're disrespectful to people. There's no lower frequency or lower level intellect than to just come right out and ask a question in an attacking mode. Unfortunately, I'm not as ascended as Mike is, and you're going to get the same frequency vibration of calling you a dime store douche or a milquetoast pussy. Stop being stupid. Stop supporting the other side's energy frequency, because this is a spiritual battle. Throwing in questions like that with that kind of an attitude, you are helping the other side. There's a way to be decent. I'm as kind as anybody on earth. In fact, you ask anybody that's seen me with people anywhere in my life, I'm the kindest person you're ever going to meet. And I'm very, very forgiving, and I give a lot of latitude. But when you come in and you bring shit like that into my circle, it comes back 5 times harder, because you need to be woken up. And like a guy said to a guy one time, he's one of my mentors, like, why do you keep, when you make a point, why do you keep driving it home? Why, like, can't you just answer the question? Just answer it. But you give me a 10-minute seminar on it. He says, well, Scott, I have to, because if I just tell you the answer, I'm going to be telling you for the next 10 years. But if I can sell you on it just one time, I'm never going to have to talk about this ever again. So that's the way I see it. If you're going to be stupid and behave that way toward a guy like Mike, who's the nicest, most humble, trained lethal killer on earth, then you need to be made an example of. And maybe, look, I've been like that, and I've had people had to check me, and I'm like, oh shit, I got a knot in my stomach. I learned my lesson. I'm like, yeah, maybe I better behave differently. So that one's for you.
I save that for you, because normally I just have those deleted, or I delete them. I got some good people that, you know, handle that. So I had it just so I can inspire you and you know, show the people that you are a Patriot Streetfighter. So beautifully said. All right. So what's going on bigger picture with these crazies that are here in the United States and trying to take over the United States, you think?
Well, let's hit shutdown first, because I think that's a good jump off. Look, the crazies who are taking over the United States have already done it. They're inside of government. You understand this, folks? Your enemy is government. Reagan said it best when he was doing his inauguration speech, first election in 1983. He said, government isn't the solution. Government is the problem. that has always been this way as long as I've been alive, or at least in a young adult forward. The infiltration of the bad people has already happened. They're littered all through government. Why? You look at it from a foreign perspective of foreign policy leaders in other parts of the world, why they may not like us or trust the U.S. Well, first of all, we break every treaty. We break every single treaty to the Native Americans in this country. Every treaty they broke, the U.S. government. They've only kept one. Every promise they've ever made to the Native Americans, there's only one promise they didn't break. Only one, U.S. government, and that is we're gonna kill your people and we're gonna take your land. They kept that promise. We've broken treaties all over the world. They hit Vladimir Putin all the time, being a criminal to bully. Vladimir Putin's an attorney. Vladimir Putin has never violated international law. Period. It's proven. Yet we do everywhere, all the time, every day, every year, by Washington D.C. So why is that? The infiltration is complete. You have all of these criminal bureaucrats throughout government. That's why they came in with the new constitution, theirs, under the United States Corporation. The original has been scrapped during the Organic Act of 1871. They put in an extra amendment, all this bullshit, gave us senators elected in popular votes in each state, so you could have liberal senators from conservative states going to D.C. Doesn't make any sense. They've done it. And now that they've created this architecture inside of government where bureaucrats can come in, be appointed by this guy over here, this president, this Obama, this Clinton, and when they get shipped out after they serve their 8 years or 4 years, all these people stay behind. They're planted in there to wreak havoc and to stop the agenda, accept the agenda of the Khazarian mobsters that truly do run the country. So therefore, how do you deal with them? Well, it took a Supreme Court decision that was just overturned, giving Trump the power as the executive power in all of government to get rid of anybody he wants. What do you think's happening during the shutdown? Mass, not layoffs like temporaries. These are job eliminations by the thousands in these agencies of these bureaucrats who are fucking it up for the president that comes in and every American citizen in the country. They're fucking it all up for us. You people that want to support that other side, if you were like in the book of Revelations where John's projected into the future thousands of years to see what the future looks like and then come back and try to articulate it back in current times, you're describing like swarms of locusts, like real locusts. No, these are probably like F-18s. You never saw one, couldn't contemplate one. How are you going to describe an F-18? You're going to say, oh, it's like a swarm of locusts. And so you're trying to describe something you can't possibly see in the future that's so much different. Think about this for you people that don't get it or are siding with the other side. If you had any clue or could get a visual of the lifestyle you would live after we eliminate all these criminals that have stolen the wealth on the planet, you'd be rushing every state capital in the world and taking them out. Because the massive wealth that they have stolen from all of us on earth. And you talk about the Garden of Eden, that is Eden. We could be living lives like multi-millionaires, every last human on earth, if we cleared these killers and criminals out of government worldwide. If you could understand that, then you would see the reality we're trying to help you understand or see is that we need to get rid of governments that are criminal in every capacity, because their crimes are extending into the population of every country. People are struggling to survive. Even in America, people are struggling to survive. Are you kidding me? In this country, people are hungry in this country. People can't pay a bill in this country.
Yeah.
Do you think God made it that way? Is that God said, yeah, put these people in power? There might be, because of their policies, my people are starving. There are people who are dying of cancer, which could be cured instantly, right? Dying of all these diseases. And you say, well, yeah, I'm anointed by God. At some point, people have to pull their head out and start thinking for themselves. Anyways, I'm on a rant here. I'm going to pull it back because I need to get that to end.
That's good. That's good. Now, we'll end it with the bee stuff. You had a great show on bees. Let me pull up your site, Patriot Streetfighter. You have some great shows on there right now. So, and you're on Rumble. Hopefully, we get you over on YouTube here pretty soon. But you tell us a little bit about the let me pull it tight. It says Guardians of Life, bees, frequency, and I think the quantum realm, quantum field. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that kind of caught me by surprise. I don't promote much on my show in terms of people's businesses or products or whatever. I've just the way I've been since I started Patriot Streetfighter. But every now and again, something comes across, my desk, and I look at it, and then and it intrigues me and captures my attention. And quite honestly, the reason that I actually brought on this gentleman was because my producer is now part of the company, and I was trying to put some shows together before I left on the cruise, so I could have things to go up while I'm on the cruise. This was one of them, and to my surprise, what I found unbelievably compelling is the technology. This gentleman sold a payment system company in Canada, created wealth, started using his wealth for something that, is better for humanity instead of just being a playboy or whatever. And what was really cool was his quantum physics was the realm that he spent his time and money in. I thought, as soon as you mentioned quantum physics, I understand that. And I'm like, oh, this has got to be really intriguing. So in his studies of learning about the divine geometry that the whole universe is built on, it's truly stunning, the architecture, and it's a show worth watching because he points it out. But you look at a honeycomb, the geometric structure of a honeycomb is, again, and it just happens in nature. It happens in other aspects of nature when you hit something like water with conscious thinking, and you can change the structure of water. All these amazing things that Christ was trying to teach us, and they killed him for it because they'd be powerless. But when this guy created this technology based on an array of magnetism or array of magnet placement in this same divine architecture, what it does to the bee population, especially in these hives, it's like it triples the size of their colonies and communities and their production of honey. And even the honey has more of a, I'm maybe using a wrong term and overspeaking it, but more of a divine structure to it.
Wow.
But he created this company to save the bees, because if you don't know what many of you have already learned, they're trying to destroy the bee population on the planet. Why? If you wipe out the bees on the planet, you wipe out all of life, even human existence, because it's the bees pollinating other plants that gives gives life of the plants their viability. And if you break it down at the lowest common denominator, the bees are absolutely critical to human survival on Earth. And so now there's a guy out there addressing the problem, so much so that they buy the honey from the beekeepers around the world who are using, I don't have mine here, this magnetic type of disc called a pure wave cell. And what they do is they give these cells to beekeepers around the world. They give them to them for no cost if they qualify. And I don't know what the qualifications are. I think they're relatively simple. They give them for free. Then they buy their honey, because the honey is far better honey that's coming out of these hives. They buy just their honey. And of course, they sell it through their company. And I will say this, okay? I hate marketing. I'm not a promoter. I'm the worst promoter there is. But I'll tell you this. You stick your spoon in this honey and you take just a taste of it. I'm telling you, it's not the best tasting honey you've ever tasted. It's the best tasting food product that ever hits your tongue. And when you look at it in a jar, it's like this, it's got this creamy look to it by something they do to it. But of course, then the sales of that honey then are funding the ongoing production of these pure wave cells. They're like a flat hockey puck that's about this big around, but they have it shaped in that geometric fashion. The arrangement of the magnets inside have their own arrangement for a certain reason. But they're giving these, they expect, there are 1,500 beekeepers around the world. They expect to have about 15,000 beekeepers around the world within a year or a year and a half to have these pure wave cells. They give them for free. And it's blowing up the bee populations around the planet. So I thought to myself, they're launching everything for Patriot Streetfighter has to be a very defined warfare platform against what they're fighting us with. So that's why I said, you know what? I will definitely play in that in that arena, because it's pretty exciting. But on top of that, these pure wave cells have great benefits to the human body. Incidentally, I was advised to not sleep with mine, under my pillow or whatever, because there's a 3-foot projection in each direction from this magnet. And because I'm so full of metal, it could be, detrimental possibly in some way, shape, or form. So I found that interesting that the owner said it would not be a good idea with all the metal in your body, Scott. So I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to him part way. I put it like about 3 feet away from my head, my upper body. So if there's anything good that's happening from the waist up where I don't have any metal, that maybe I can get some benefits from it.
Wow, that's fascinating. And I think that's, in the future, this type of technology that's helping the bee population, our planet, and so forth, is where we're going to go. Of course, we have a war to win, and we're going to win it. So, Scott, absolutely incredible conversation. You just keep hitting it out of the park every time I talk with you. It's amazing. I love coming on your shows and doing shows with other guests and so forth. You're a true patriot, and you've helped America. And I know every time I do a show or an event with you, the people absolutely love you. So, and you're right. We'll go do all kinds of crazy stuff. I'll talk to people, and I see you're talking with people, and I'll go and do a bunch of stuff and come back, and you're still talking with people, and I'll go do something else, come back, you're still talking with people. Yeah, so you really, like you said, you really, love people, and what you do is definitely serving humanity on a massive scale. So I thank you very much, and thanks for coming on our show. So people can find you at Patriot Streetfighter. .com or
patriotstreetfighter.com. I'll reciprocate those same sentiments to you. You're one of my favorite people in the movement, have been since day one. Our roundtables are great. By the way, speaking of roundtable, we got a roundtable Monday night, folks, on my channel. If you go to PSF Rumble, psfrumble.com, you'll land right on. It's hard to find Patriot Streetfighter on Rumble because I started that channel under the Tipping Point Radio. Most people can't figure that out. But if you go to psfrumble.com, you'll see it. We have, it's going to be a great military roundtable because it's going to be none other than Mike Jaco, your favorite Navy SEAL in the world, and also Lieutenant Colonel Ricardo Bosi, commander of SAS forces in Australia, another friend of Mike's. So we're doing a 3-way conversation on the war at hand. And I know with both Mike and Colonel Bosi on there, that's going to be an epic Tipping Point show on Monday night. That's going to be a hell of a roundtable, so you don't want to miss that.
Yeah,
that's 8 o'clock Eastern time, by the way.
Yeah, Australia is my favorite other country than America. So Ricardo's amazing guy. Patriot movement in Australia. So he's doing great stuff down there. So yeah, Scott, like I said, pleasure, honor, always to have you on and do shows with you. So thanks for coming on the channel and sharing. We had a great audience. This is probably going to get out there big. So thanks a lot. See you next time.
Much love to you and TJ. Patriot Streetfighter out.